When I think about the reason why I wanted to become an entrepreneur, much of it was rooted in what I learned about the African American Civil Rights Movement. So when you think about the African American Civil Rights Movement and what it means, I am a product of the sacrifices of the people who died and didn't even know my name. I have always had an affinity for HBCUs since the different world days. I think that's when many of us were introduced to historically black colleges and universities, and I've always loved the history and heritage that is of African American people. And I think from an education perspective, historically black colleges, is at the precipice of some of the most dynamic African American people who have impacted, our nation and our world come from historically black colleges and universities. And I wanted to be a part of that, even as an entrepreneur. That's what I wanted to do. My first client was Morris College in Sumter, South Carolina. Dr. Lund C. Richardson gave me my first opportunity in higher education in 2009. Dr. Richardson was a dynamic president, one of the longest tenured HBCU presidents ever. We just lost him a year or two ago. And I mean, he was just such a dynamic leader, transformational leader, and he really gave birth to Perkins Management Services in higher education. HBCU market is my passion. It's my heart. It's where my heart rests right now. I discovered, very early on that I felt like there was an opportunity gap to provide a very high quality food service management to what I considered to be an underserved population. And I noticed that food services at majority institutions were being handled much differently than what was happening at HBCUs. And I wanted to enter the marketplace and provide a very high quality, sustainable solution for historically black institutions from a 100% minority-owned company. Our most recent client acquisition is Harris Stowe State University in St. Louis, Missouri. We just completed our first academic year there as a partner, dynamic partner. We're very excited about our relationship with Harris Stowe State University. Look forward to continued growth in that partnership, turn into a long-term, mutually beneficial relationship, which is what we seek with all of our clients, but especially excited about them affording us the opportunity to be able to partner with them. Oh my gosh, I mean, there's so much that you learn along the way of being an entrepreneur. Bootstrapping a business, there's no instruction manual to being an entrepreneur, right? So you learn a lot along the way, right? It is a cutthroat competitive business. Students, the taste of today's college students evolves so quickly. It's almost like the technology industry. I mean, it's almost like, there's new technology being developed every day. So the palates and tastes of today's college students evolve just as quickly, right? And it's a very cutthroat and competitive business. I think the most competitive business in the country. I mean, probably next to construction, right? It is a business that is dominated by large majority companies. African American, 100% African American owned companies are few and far between. It's a very, very interesting business. It's a great, segmentation, right? I think it's a dynamic niche market. However, higher education food service is highly competitive and not a very easy space, to operate in. But we've been able to establish ourselves in the market and develop a competency to be able to do so. I think when you think about what minority business ownership means, especially in today's society, the African American community holistically is at a crisis. When you think about the racial wealth gap and the way that it's continuing to grow, I think when you think about wealth inequality, when you think about access to capital and things that are continuing to adversely impact our people, the need for African American business ownership is more vital, I think, than ever before. I feel like historically black colleges and universities play a pivotal role in minority business development, not only from doing business with 100% minority-owned companies, but also in training and developing current entrepreneurs as well as future entrepreneurs. I think STEM and Education is important. I think providing access to technical training and things of that nature also are important. But when I think about why I wanted my company to remain 100% minority owned, was to demonstrate that during my career that I could see an African American owned and controlled firm reach $1 billion in contract sales, and that's my goal. Perkins Management Services Company is a brand. Nicholas Perkins is also a brand. I'm the founder of a company. But what's most important is that Perkins Management Services is a brand itself. Our company has established itself as a solution in the marketplace. When you think about contract food service management and a minority player in this space, we've been able to carve out a niche market and have been the customer of choice for almost 20 historically black institutions in a 10-year period, right? It's almost, an anomaly. And so when you think about Nicholas Perkins as the founder, coming from where I came from to what I have been able to accomplish as an entrepreneur, that can be translated, right, and quantified in what Perkins Management Services Company is today, as a company that can stand on its own almost as if a parent that raised a child. Now that they are mature enough to be able to go out on their own, there has to be a separation. And I think that I want people not only to recognize me, but to recognize my company as a brand independently, although it carries my name, right? It has a brand culture. It has a defined position in the marketplace, right? And we have a reputation around service and quality, right? That will continue in perpetuity, even if I wasn't here. When I think about the reason why I wanted to become an entrepreneur, much of it was rooted in what I learned about the African American Civil Rights Movement. Entrepreneurship to me is a sense of freedom. When I studied Martin Luther King Jr. and I recognized that his work, and when you think about who I am as a person, I think about creative altruism and what that really means, about unselfish living, what it means to be unselfish, what it means to be able to sacrifice and benefit other people. I wanted to be able to do that, but I recognized that if I was of any material means, I would be able to do that for more people. And we wanted to be able to create a vehicle, not only that it was a bridge to be able to lead me to a better life, but also I'll be able to measure that in helping other people. So when you think about the African American Civil Rights Movement and what it means, I am a product of the sacrifices of the people who died and didn't even know my name. So it's important for me to go out and be successful. I'm obligated to do so, right? Leah Chase, to define Leah Chase in one word, in my opinion, is stewardship. Anything that I learned from and about Leah Chase, it was her commitment and dedication to seeing her business succeed. For over 70 years, Leah Chase could be found in her kitchen. A very humble, unassuming woman who had a vision to go out and establish a restaurant and serve so many people, from presidents down to civil rights leaders, and as she put it, change the course of America over a bowl of gumbo. And it's the truth, right? And even to her last days, when I saw her, it was in January of this year, the last time we sat down and had a conversation with each other, she came to see me from her kitchen, right? So she was still working, being a great steward of her business and of her brand, and left something of a legacy for her family, and that is stewardship to me. What's next for Nicholas Perkins is the continued commitment to climb higher mountains. And in climbing higher mountains, I'm going to be able to lift others as I climb. And I think it's vitally important to recognize that for each of us, our lives are ultimately going to be measured by not only the impact that we have on all of those that we touch, right, but actually accomplishing our life's work, what we were placed on this earth to do. And I think every day I try to maximize every moment that I'm given to walk in my purpose, and also to be able to impact all of those that I may encounter. So I want to be able to continue to do that. So when I think about what's next for me, it's almost like the next page of a book, right? You have to read it in order to be able to determine what's next. My life is unfolding even before me, because I feel like I'm walking in the purpose that I'm supposed to have. But life is not like a crystal ball that you can look into and, you know, you can figure out, you know, what's next, right? I mean, you can't see around every corner. So if life was like that, in the words of LaShawn Pace, there would be no pain, right? There would never be any trouble. There would never be, you know, but we all recognize that our life is in God's hands, right? So every day that we live and we continue to progress and we operate and walk in a sense of faith, that our lives will begin to matter and our lives will begin to unfold before us in purpose, and that's what's next for me. Perkins Management Services Company will become the first 100% minority-owned billion-dollar contract food management services company. We the willing, led by the unknowing, are doing the impossible for the ungrateful. We have done so much with so little for so long, we are now qualified to do anything with nothing. And that is the plight of African American people.